things are everywhere, man. Oh, I'm out of ammo. Well, there's one over there. Yeah, how can they charge rent, man? They're animals. Oh, I'm out. Give me another clip. You want some? Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, you like that. Oh, I think that was my last bullet. I'm out. Oh, wait. I just found a magazine. There it is. How can they sign a lease, man? They're animals. All right. Well, let's see if we can figure out what we're doing here, everybody. Greetings. Let's see if we can figure out what we're doing. Let's see if you can figure out what you're doing. Hey, I'm just sitting here. Yeah, just kind of chilling in this soothing thing and, just kind of having a nice time here thinking about doing another video. And probably nothing else in here with me. Just me by myself. Oh, wait. Oh, I revealed that I was holding on to. Okay, well, the believability of that puppet theater didn't last too long. Greetings, programs. Your old buddy Ingrid Bernal here. Hankford Fernail. Old Brandon Gillum. That's what they call me. Brandish Gilhelm coming back at you for another live stream over here. You know how it is. You know how we do it. Apparently, I'm on the internet right now. Wow. They've really renovated the place. Look at all these talking heads I'm seeing. I'm seeing book reviews over here. We've got some scandal videos. And what is this? There's some peaceful outdoor RPG videos. That's kind of crazy. Oh, and look at this. Wayfinder Echoes. Okay. Didn't really think the game needed a tutorial, but I guess I'll take what I can get. I'll settle for it. I'll allow it. You know, it's funny. You move your stuff, and when you put your stuff back together, nothing works. And I mean nothing. I'm going to stop adjusting that because it's getting ridiculous. I'm going to go right over here. This is where I belong. Oh, yeah. Anyway, hi, guys. Screwing around with all the stuff. Haven't seen y'all for a minute. It's Tuesday. It's the middle of Tuesday. There's no announcements, no scheduling, no marking your calendar, no push notifications. No, it just, I found the time here in these hallowed halls, this ancient library, to just set this stuff up. What is all this stuff? Anyway, and get back to y'all. What has been going? I've been on Saturn, basically. I've been living on the surface of Saturn, which is liquid ammonia, and it's been a thrilling experience. That's why I've not been streaming. The Wi-Fi is terrible out there, by the way. So, hey, yo, thanks everybody for showing up. It's good to see y'all in the comments and all that good stuff. So before we get into any juicy bits, I'm sitting here. I got all my toys with me. I got my M41 pulse rifle here. Oh, wait, I'm out again. Give me a new clip, would you, Frost? Thanks, dude. There we go. Only 10 rounds in this clip. That's not going to work. Anyway, I was just sitting here goofing around between having my pulse rifle and my Alien Romulus popcorn bucket. You're going to need this popcorn bucket. You see, it's got this hatch up on top. And they have acid for blood. See that? See, there's a hatch on top. That's where you put the popcorn. Anyway, between those things, just entertaining myself here on a Tuesday. And I just want to catch everybody up with the stuff. I haven't been on the internet forever. What y'all been up to? Yo, okay, so the rumors are true. I don't even know if they're rumors. It's more like corny press releases, mysterious posts, Instagram hints, and vague posting. It's got butter for blood. That's pretty fantastic. So yeah, I did take a little bit of a break from doing internet-y type stuff, and I got a wild hair that I needed some kind of like a workshop. I needed a place to actually continue to evolve my kind of hobby existence to the next level. And, just was outgrowing my house, to be totally honest. So, on the one hand, spiritual change, right? Like, I need to go to the next level. But at the other hand, um, just pragmatic change, right? So, what started just as this really simple practical idea about like sort of working on a studio or like just some kind of small space just to get all these boxes and miniatures and paints and everything out of my house, it started snowballing and growing, and this was all last year. But I didn't really want to holler at everybody about it until it became a reality, and that took quite some doing. 2024 has been the summer of madness, and it has been, I think all of 2024 has been summer, by the way. There are no other seasons in 2024. Seasons are so last year. Now it's just summer all the time. But yeah, finally got it done. Open these doors. Props to all the Shield Wall people that came out on opening day. That was back at September 14th. And we did absolutely pack the shop that day. It was nuts. The shop was simply stuffed with people. And it was awesome. And so that was the beginning, September 14th. So now we're like about a month in, just over a month. We're learning and growing and meeting people so fast. It's awesome. Hang on, there's something. Okay, I was like, who this? Who's in my house? So anyway, yeah. So we did it. We opened a store. It's a bookstore. We have rentable tables. We've got the coolest D&D room in the land, which is hidden behind a secret bookcase. The secret is out, I guess. And we've got these paint stations and everything. You guys probably have seen some of the Instagram posts. If you haven't, that's really where I kind of live nowadays. I just am like, I think I'm allergic to Facebook now, so you'll never see me there. I don't post a ton on YouTube, like for posting everything. So if you want to see like photos from daily life in the shop, follow me on Instagram and follow runehammer.store on Instagram. And that is like more of like our official account and all that kind of good stuff, yada, yada, yada. There, I got through that part. But yeah, we have opened up this shop and we are basically in the glorious process of like discovering who we are. So what and who are we? And you know what's so fun about it is that it's defined by the community that is around us, and that's what's so different. Like the internet has been a blast. YouTube has been a blast. I've been doing this stuff since 2015, if you can believe that. That's insane to think about. So it's going to be 10 years of Runehammer next April. And so we've gone through a lot of these different cycles. There's like the Scotty phase. There was the PvP phase that we went through. There was the super heavy duty drinking phase that I went through, where I would like drink an entire mini keg and review a book. We went through the giant 3-gallon tipping whiskey bottle phase. We've gone through so many different stages. And then there's like the super precise edited phase. And then we had the very large, like live streaming Q&A style phase. It's been nuts. And through all that, I have found it to be impossible to pin my interests in this glorious hobby of ours down to one thing. Publishing is amazing. Writing and creating books, especially collaborating with others to make really cool books that I feel strongly like deserve to be part of the lexicon of role playing. It's a blast. But then you kind of start phasing back into something and like, yo, man, I need to build a Redemptor Dreadnought for my Space Wolves. And I need to step up some mini game here. I want to do like the sickest Dreadnought ever. What does that have to do with anything? Like, I don't do videos about like Warhammer. I'm not really known as some kind of Warhammer head or something like that. But yo, I got my Space Wolf army over there. I got my drab green Space Marines. You know what I mean? That's how I like it. So I got my Redemptor sitting up there in the box. I'm looking at it just like, man, I'm going to kill that. and that's just a whole nother aspect of it. And then another day will come and be like, you know what? I'm going to do this owl bear in all like sparkle pony colors. I'm going pink. I'm going purple. I'm going like sea foam blue. I'm going to get nuts with this thing. And then a couple days later, I'm like, you know what? It's all just about sessions. I'll get out like my big giant like shadow dark maze tablecloth that Kelsey gave me. And I'll be like, I want to make this more fun than shadow dark. Even more mazy and even more, like Chutes and Laddersy feeling. Like, how can I do it? Get my notes out, start writing. And then I'll be like, oh my God, you know what's dope? None of that stuff. Throw all that stuff away. You know what's cool? Mini cons, bro. It's like where 15 people get together for a weekend and we play all weekend. And the storyline of the weekend like stitches through the whole thing. And you finish it by drinking a ton of beer and LARPing all night long. And then that'll be done. And I'll be like, whew, man. Mini cons wearing me out and whatnot. I think I better get back into publishing. And so the cycle of life just keeps going and going and going. And sometimes the way that this world is structured and the way that things are commodifying us these days, they're commodifying our creativity. They're even commodifying just our interest in each other. We're paying services so advertisers can monetize our curiosity about each other. But rather than lament that, I find myself just drifting. And Aggie, I could not disagree. And Claudia, I totally disagree. This is not ADHD. ADHD is a thing that for people who really do struggle with that, we owe them a proper treatment of that term. That is a term that keeps you from doing things. It keeps you from getting through and feeling the reward of finishing and doing things. That is not what I'm describing at all. And I do not want to even touch that with a 10-foot pole because the people who really do struggle with ADHD need their appreciation. And they need that space to have that and struggle with it and have it be real and not just have me over here saying that's what's going on. That's not what's going on. I just have a lot of interests and I have a bit of privilege in my life and a bit of luck and a bit of success that I can pursue all of those interests. That's what it is, not ADHD. So let's not throw that term around casually and, make the people who are really struggling with it feel like, oh, everybody says they have it. Let's not do that. So that was a huge roundabout journey to tell all you awesome people who are hanging out with me today on a random Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? I don't even know. Anyways, to tell all you guys on a Tuesday, what my journey is and continues to be. It just took the form of this shop. And, so many people have opinions about game shops, about the FLGS thing, the syndrome of the local game shop and the mighty and terrible and numerous dooms that befall them. Beware you, the pitfalls of the FLGS. Yeah, most of them are real. Most of them are real and true, and it's definitely something to worry about. But I'm coming at this full force, and I'm not your average FLGS owner. I'm also a small scale to mid scale publisher, and that's going to be a game changer when it comes to this space. Honestly, this space is really just sort of my clubhouse in a lot of ways. It's the clubhouse I've always wanted. The clubhouse that reminds me of some of the little tiny game clubs and shops that were back in the early 90s that really catered to the style of gaming that me and my friends did. And also was really open to a lot of different stuff, and people talk about like kind of the old days as this kind of unified thing. But I really think that there was more diversity in a smaller community back then. People playing everything from Paranoia to Ogre to Battletech to D&D with equal frequency. Now, nowadays, you get these sort of mega brands, and the mega brands have learned how to better dominate the space, right? So you do have Magic the Gathering, super powered force. Then you have Warhammer and like 40K, extremely powerful brand. Then you have D&D proper, right? Wizards of the Coast D&D is this titan that's looming above everybody. And even if people are playing other games, they say, yeah, but it's got aspects of D&D in it. But I think that those mega brands and the age of mega brands is definitely upon us. And it has reduced some of the diversity of the community. And one of the cool things about doing this space, don't worry, these topics are related, is to be able to actively encourage that diversity with the events that you run, the financial risk of the stock that you put on your shelves, and the community that you grow and foster. You can make that stuff come back. And I found that on YouTube and just being sort of the earlier version of Runehammer, I was kind of getting a little bit left behind, I got to admit. And I talk about this on my new podcast by the RPG. Mainframe is coming back, by the way. We've already done 2 episodes. But on YouTube, I felt just a little bit left behind. You know, like I was seeing a lot of newer channels that were just blasting right past me because of this sort of algorithm stuff, or because of their never ending kind of well done production value, you know, where I was just like, man, I do not have the focus and the will to constantly make like high quality edited videos and like look at footage of myself and stuff and like, whoa. And so I think what happened is when you get surpassed like that a little bit, or not necessarily surpassed, but you know, you picking up what I'm laying down. You look for new avenues. You look for new things in life that are going to give you that thrill again. And you change shape and you evolve. And that's what I've been doing. So that's why I haven't been on the internet here for the solid 4 months. And this journey is even vastly older than that. This journey really began at the beginning of 2023. And it took us until September 14th to crack those doors open. So yeah, definitely, I know not everybody uses Instagram, but if you really do want to kind of keep up with my sort of never-ending madness, that's really is the place to do it. And I'm not a huge fan of Instagram either. It has really kind of invaded our lives a little bit, but it is, as Frank Mincer would say, the common language of today. And so it's almost become like the yellow pages of today. That puts a little date stamp on how stinking old I am at this point. And so that's kind of the short version of this big story of, you know, finding my way in all this and not giving up on it either, by the way. You know, like, I got to say, sometimes this whole hobby, industrializing the hobby kind of thing that we're experiencing, it really began in 2010, I would say. And, you know, D&D like kind of crashed out of its closet. It kind of burst out of its seams. And, you know, DM Scotty was a big part of that. 5th edition was a huge part of that. If you think about like the hobby in the 5th edition era versus the 4th edition era, I mean, they are vastly different. The 4th edition era was all but hidden from the world. And then 5th edition and the way that it was timed with the way YouTube was growing and stuff, completely different vibe to the whole daily experience of role playing, just being into D&D stuff in general, painting some miniatures now and again. And, you know, if you're like me, this also extends into adjacent cool things like playing Elden Ring. You know, like Elden Ring is like one of the coolest manifestations of D&D that's ever been. You know, or even playing stuff like World of Warcraft, which now there's a great inheritor. If you're a Warcraft head out there, please check out Wayfinder Echoes by Airship Games, which is Joe Madureira's production company. An absolutely exquisite treatment of how I imagine a lot of D&D, especially at higher level, or especially more sort of, I don't know, sort of splammy D&D. You know, not all D&D has to be crusty and grim and you know, cut in stone and cold and lonely, and I don't have any rations. You know, some of D&D can totally be doing ability combos and shockwaves and innervate and all this kind of shit. There's room for all of that. And so as that has really changed in the last decade, I've had to change with it. And I mean, this is crazy to think about. Like, I came out on the YouTube scene like, you know, drinking an entire growler of like 10% beer and talking about D&D and just being very, and it was great. And I had a great time for its time. But it's funny to think about that like in today's context, right? So this shop and this workshop that I'm in right now, which I'm kind of hiding it from your view for the moment, is that current manifestation of where I'm at in this journey. Because I found I really, really needed to reconnect with people in the neighborhood, in the flesh and blood, face to face. I really needed that. And the internet and sort of the COVID online role playing thing. Hey, yo, if you play online, rock on. This is no shade being thrown at all. This is just for me personally. I needed that recharge, that refueling of being face to face with people. And I couldn't necessarily find it that easily. I couldn't just be like, yo, tons of people come over to my house. Like, that's not real. So I kind of needed to build a house that I could invite them over to. So I think that's probably enough of a super long-winded, crazy explanation of sort of where I'd been and why I'm opening a game shop, or not opening. Hell, it's in the past now. It's opened. We are open. So come on in. If you're in the East Coast or anywhere near Philly, come on over and say hey. And we've had people already come from far and wide. We've had people from San Francisco, the UK, the Midwest, New York, West Virginia, the Carolinas, all come on up and just come into our humble little shop. It's not like we have the biggest game shop you could ever imagine, not by a long shot, but we do have a very special little hobbit hole that I think that role players really can appreciate and really can lean into and love. And our community is growing super quick, which is just, it's so awesome to see, you guys. So we have like a Shadow Dark community that's already like planting a foothold. We've got one of our in-house GMs, McAllister, is rocking Morkborg, and there's so much interest for Morkborg out there. And it isn't necessarily just because, wow, Morkborg has the coolest mechanics, or like, oh, the layout is so cool. Just Morkborg taps into a fun, heavy metal mood, and that mood is cool, especially in this part of the country and the city, right? And then also we have our other in-house GM, Katie, who's sort of has a bit of like a sparkle pony kind of very like lit up fun kind of vibe to what she does, and that's gaining like a really strong sort of feeling of community there. And then if there's of course me like doing, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. I do like different things every week. And so meeting all those people is so cool. Like meeting a couple of our local Kings of War gamers here in Philly. There's a couple of clubs in Philly, and meeting them and seeing them come in, and also painting with random people. People ask me, how do I do the dots on the eyes of my miniature? And there is no easy way. There's no easy way to kill Darth Vader. Okay. He dies very difficult. There's no easy way to put a tiny microscopic white dot on anything, much less the inside of an eye socket of a miniature. Like, there's no easy answer here. It's all just skill and practice and a little bit of luck, and on and on and on and on. So, yo, that's just the sort of the update on where I've been and what I'm doing. Now, the reason too that you are not, by the way, this incredible ancient library that I'm sitting in right now is not Runehammer. For those who are curious, I'm just chilling. This is not digital either. Look, I'm here. I'm actually here. This is not, there's no green screen here. Anyway, I'm saving a real sort of show of the shop for a little video that I want to put together so it can be a little more fun. So I am kind of hiding my workshop right now. And before we go to like a Q&A type mindset, and yes, the long, stiff, skinny brush, it works. It helps. You can also use a white paint marker with a very fresh tip on it to get an extremely small white dot. I would say you can take all of these measures and you still have a pretty good chance of getting a slightly cockeyed looking eyeball. And everybody's got an opinion of how to get it done, and they're all good opinions, but you still have a pretty good chance of fucking it up. Because that's just how it is. And yeah, I'm like S5. Everybody just has dark eye sockets, sunglasses on. That's the foolproof answer. So one more thing I wanted to get to before I just kind of open up the table for Q&A. Good to have all 130 of you tuned in here. Nice to see everybody again. Feel this like the returning. I will be back. And boy, you want to talk about craft projects, bro? Give this guy a extremely large amount of space, all the tools and materials I can ever muster, and the time to be here full time. I got craft projects, y'all. I got craft projects. Now I just need to film them. So anyways, I'll be showing all that stuff too. I'm really excited to do that. That's one of the first things I really got into way back in the day on YouTube, and still one of those things that really brings you right into the moment with the hobby, right? It like brings you right down to that feeling of being in the hobby. Okay, so anyway, before we get to full on Q&A mode, I do need to get an elephant out of the room. I have a couple of elephants in the room, but I'm going to save one of them for the podcast, which I wanted to have an in-depth discussion on. I think it's going to be episode 73 of the RPG Mainframe about AI and the way that AI is kind of getting a lot into D&D, and like have a sober and rational and fact-based discussion about what it's all about. But I'm not going to get into that today. But one thing I did want to mention, because it's a bit of an elephant in the room, is I know that there's a lot of curiosity with my sort of stance as we have entered an awesome new era. And by the way, I have been part of every single era, pretty much since the extreme beginning. Not quite the like the chainmail like era, like not the pamphlet era of like the late 70s. I wasn't quite old enough. But every edition of D&D that comes out, I get the damn edition. I show up. And this one is, of course, no different. This guy here, the new D&D 5.5 Player's Handbook. I'm just like all of y'all. I got mine, and I'm super excited about it. And then look through it and have some, there's some cool and some not so cool. But things have gotten so surreal that we know everything about these books before we can even touch them, because the way that the internet is working. So there's absolutely nothing I can really say that's going to be new or surprising or interesting about D&D 5.5. It's so weird, y'all. It's so weird. Like we are like reading books before we have the books. It's really strange how this is all playing out. But I do have one thing to say about this little beauty right here. This is the side I'm supposed to be on. This is the side. Follow the directions. The director's screaming at me back here. It's just our studio is so advanced you can't hear him. But there is something I wanted to say about it. And I'm mixed bag on the art. I know a lot of people maybe aren't digging the art. I do think it gets a little too sparkle pony in spots. I do think it lacks a little bit of grit. I do think the color palettes are really good. They have like an Elmore vibe to them, and I like that. And some of the art I think is sick. I think that some of the background art is really dope. I like how they put portrayals of spells into the spell section to give you a little more idea what that's like. But yeah, a little more grit would be cool. A little more like human made art. It's got a little bit of an overly kind of computery vibes to it sometimes. But that's nothing new. Everybody thinks that. The one thing I wanted to call out about D&D 5.5, and it's absolutely D&D. I mean, yes, this is the new edition of D&D. Like, if you're a D&D head, this is required reading. I mean, like, this is the modern language of the game. And on that front, regardless of what you may feel about like the tone that they're bringing, as far as the art and stuff, on the front of the game and the state of the language that we use to play D&D together as a common language, I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's outstanding. But the one thing I wanted to call out about it is how feats have returned to be more straightforward and more simple as one of the core methods of rewarding progression in the game. Now, any time in the history of all role-playing, you can focus on feats in whatever way. So I don't like to use the word allow ever. No book can allow you to do anything. This is an inert object. I can do whatever the hell I want. But I gotta say, the way that they rewrote and cleaned up the feats in D&D 5.5 is so good and so tight to me, it almost brought back some of those great vibes I had with fourth edition, where it felt so mechanically tight that inspired me to make mechanically tight things. And the feats in D&D have already leveled me up as far as how I write abilities. And so I got being in the position that I'm at with the store now and running games constantly, and some of them bespoke games, right? I get the chance to nano publish things like abilities and feats every week. And the sort of the vibe that came from that book went into the sort of the Outriders feats. And if you hop on the Runehammer Discord, which is the main channel on Runehammer Discord, is now free for everybody. I posted the feats and loot that I made for the Outriders minicon, which there's going to be a blog post all about it. Come and probably finish it today. And I feel like I did a better job on that than I have on my sort of feat-like abilities in quite some time. It's this slot machine kind of pinball feel that players absolutely love. They just love it. And I know because I've played in 5.5 and love the feeling of those feats. And it's only the tip of the iceberg. I'm not saying like the feats in 5.5 are now my personal savior and like, yes, this is all I need. It's more a mindset and a writing style that leads to this kind of bing, 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 bing kind of effect to really good abilities. I'm not sure. Vorpal, I don't think that's really anything to me. I find that to be a utterly hollow topic. I do think that maybe the world is evolving and changing and getting wider in its human variety, and that's reality. So like it's all good. But yeah, I mean, I do think that some of those social changes are in D&D 5.5. Absolutely. And they should be. They're in our world. Our world is wider and more varied than it was 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And to just want things to be 50 years ago is not the worldview that I'm interested in. So I think that whole thing aside, because I really think it's a red herring to what this book is about. I really think it's some kind of hot take that is just sort of hollow when you take a hard look at it. The book, I think, is about a writing and organizational style. And that writing and organizational style, I think, has been powerfully informed by Magic the Gathering. I think that the style of writing small blurbs of mechanical text has really improved a lot. And I think that helps everybody. Now, there are other things we can talk about. You know, D&D doesn't quite have a location yet. So I hope they do a great job with Greyhawk. I'll be talking about the DM's guide. We should be getting it like today. I think it's coming in. There's a big box of them coming today. So be able to talk about that. But yeah, I really agree with Tim wholeheartedly. There is no reason to only show a couple of kinds of people in books. There's no reason at all. And for people to feel like, how come none of these people look like me? Like, there's just no good. Yeah, this is why I think it's just a red herring discussion. So anyways, the feats in D&D 5.5, the writing style, the way they wrote the rules glossary in the back, it's not like I need a rules glossary on 5th edition. All right, we all know it so well, it's kind of built in. But the fact that it's there and the way that it's written, full marks to that whole team. And a huge thank you and props goes out to Chris Perkins, who just moved from product lead on D&D to creative director. And as someone who has been creative director in a company, I know exactly that kind of transition that he's making right now. And thank you, huge Chris Perkins, for like 15 plus years of sick D&D. It has been a dope, and you know, everybody's got a hot take about 5th edition and stuff, but it has been a dope period of D&D. It's like been really fun. All of the things. And you know, I'm not a big fan of Kickstarter, but Kickstarter has also brought so many cool things onto my shelf, onto my table, into my brain. And so, yeah. So your only critique is that you gush about its bookcraft. Well, gushing and critique aren't the same thing. My only critique, well, if we want to get into it, I thought we might. accidentally get into it. No, there are plenty of critiques. I still think that advantage is an extremely limited core boost because it's a binary state. So you can never dogpile the bonuses on a character. You either, I mean, not you can never, but just using advantage. Once a character has advantage, they're good. They're buffed. And that's why I think like stacking type effects are more functional for being able to dogpile both buffs and penalties. Advantage and disadvantage are so binary. I find it extremely limiting, and it's limited by that crazy limbic problem of rolling 2d20s and getting one really high and one really low. And there's a brief moment of emotional confusion. And I don't like that. So you want to talk about a heavy hitting critique for D&D. I still think advantage is kind of one of their weaker core kind of functional gears that they use to like describe a lot of different things. And I'm like a lot of people where I loved it at first. I thought, wow, this solves so many problems. But really, additive bonuses and penalties are so much more rich with variety. So that's one of my heaviest, most core critiques of D&D of 5th edition or 5.5. The bookcraft, I think, is pretty good. As far as its organization, its thinking, and its writing, I think it's spectacular. But I'm still not a huge fan of the super colorful, super glossy, kind of multi-column kind of thing. It's just maybe not my favorite. I don't even know if that's really a critique. And then, yeah, I'm a little bit with a lot of the internet, which is that some of the art is like a little happier than even I would like. I play pretty happy vibes sometimes, but some of it is so happy. I'm hoping that you get into the DMG and the Monster Manual, and those have some more grim intensity in them. I'm super psyched to see Venger come into the mix and Greyhawk. So show me that intensity with those books, and then the happiness in the Player's Handbook can kind of slide a little bit. But again, the happiness of that art in that book do not define anything that I do, my games or my style. That's just a style that's there. And some of it is also really dope. I do think some of the art has like a real edge to it. Like the Dragonborn Rogue is like badass, or even the Dragonborn Monk has a really cool look. And there's some cool. I love that wizard page with the wizard, and she's got like these little glasses, and her eyes are like, you know, whited out with like arcane power and stuff. Like they still got some of those power vibes. I think they consciously wanted to put those happy sort of moods in there to get that foundation. You know, it's just like the beginning of Lord of the Rings. Yo, you want to talk about happy, bright, sunshiny vibes? So I'm hoping that they kind of work that down into the grimness of the DMG and the D&D and the Monster Manual. And I'm actually a huge fan of Greyhawk. Give me Spell Plague, give me Drow, give me the Pomarsh, give me Badwall, give me the Wild Coast. Like, hell yeah, Cron Hills, what's up? Temple of Elemental Evil in the background. Like, yeah, give me some Greyhawk right now. Please come back to YouTube. Well, I'm on YouTube. Hey, man. Okay. Here I am. So, okay. Anyways, those are just the kind of the things that are just brimming right now today that I wanted to holler about. And I don't want to be on here chewing on your ears forever, but let me try to catch up on some of the comments. So remember, if you really want to get noticed in the comments, put that all caps question in front of your comment, and I'll try to get to you here. I can see I'm looking, just glancing to the right. There's like a ton of things floating by that I'm not necessarily seeing or catching. Yeah. And Claudia, hey, I'm with you a little bit. Like, seeing more rework and more innovation would be really cool. But I think that our hobby has proliferated to such a degree. I think it's smart of D&D right now to hold its ground in its brand and stuff. And I'm a very strange outlier in the so-called OGL scandal, which actually never occurred. It was a thing that was maybe going to happen that never did. So that's weird right there. But I kind of wished, frankly, that they would have just done it. I wish they would have just ended the age of the OGL completely and just own D&D as many private companies own their intellectual property. I think it would have been a cool power move for them, but obviously it would make life a little more difficult for a lot of sort of second tier or second party creators. Um, but it would just force them into more original situations. They would continue to create. And I think I was looking forward to that. Like, oh man, everybody's going to get off the OGL train and start to just go full creative mode and not kind of lean on D&D. And I was excited about it. But it did not play out that way. So yeah, more innovation for D&D would be cool. But I think we're going to see them holding ground and laying concrete with their brand, not innovating. Yeah, Joey, I'll do the DMG review for sure. I mean, that's the book that can be very exciting or super boring. Yeah, Christmas. We do have a Christmas event. It hasn't been announced yet, but I am doing like a Revenge of King Krampus thing. I know it's Krampus, but I'm calling him Krampus, and I'm standing by that. Our stag, no, there will not be an ICRPG 2.0 because it is what it wants to be. It is what it needs to be. And I have Crown and Skull. I mean, Crown and Skull is what I'm working on, not sequels to old stuff. Yeah, Ben, Crown and Skull Volume 2 is officially done. It is with the printers. The proofs have come in and I have approved them. We had a mind-blowing 4 typos to fix, so we got those fixed. And I put a lot more work into proofing than I kind of normally do. Really took it heavy serious this year. And we should be saying Crown and Skull Volume 2 ready to buy, no crowdfunding, no pre-sale, nothing, in January. So right on schedule for 1 year release from the release of Volume 1. So Crown and Skull is our #1 top seller here in the shop, as well as the Runehammer dice. And I look forward to Volume 2 is going to definitely blow some minds. I don't think it is what people think it is. So it's going to be really exciting to release it to the world. What's the best campaign start in Slimshire area, Tim Smith? Man, I don't know. That depends on the mood of your players. Probably the Dalric's Wall is the place to go and really get into things, or the Shadowglades. There's some great stuff in Volume 2 about that gets deeper into the Shadowglades. So, campaigns are all bespoke to the players. So whatever they're interested in. When's a good time to come to Philly? Anytime. I mean, we're open Wednesday through Sunday. So like, come on over. I don't know. If you grab our app, there's a Runehammer app for both Google and Apple phones. Get our app, and that's how you can stay in touch with everything, get tickets, see our new events, see our announcements, holler at me, and so forth. MTV Cribs. Is that a Jenny D reference? How have you balanced writing and running the shop? Slater Smith. Man, what a dope question. You just got to go with your nose every day. You have to pursue daily joy, and this shop, I tell you, pulls you in a million directions. Like, I thought I had a million things going on before. That was nothing. That was nothing. So how do I balance it? I don't. I just try to follow my nose and make each day have some fun to it. And if that means completely shifting gears and leaving some things, on the oven while you focus on other stuff, then so be it. But you got to just make sure you're having a good time with stuff. Guide to writing and publishing your first game. That is a little too big of a topic for a quick answer, but put more work into it than you ever imagined possible. Get sick artists. Get ready for the financial load. Get ready to not be noticed. Put in the work. Do more testing, as it's often called by some, but I don't really see it as testing, but just play the hell out of what you're making. Be extremely vocal. Use the tools at your disposal. Bring it. And that's not even talking about publishing. Big question. ICRPG has good GM advice. Thanks. How does D&D DMG compare? I don't know. I don't have it in my hands yet. But I'm guessing it's going to be a little less direct. D&D historically has not been that good at being really direct about the nuts and bolts of game mastering. They kind of almost assume a lot of the core skills and then move into some other nuts and boltsy parts. And I do think it leads to some morass GMing. There's GMing that gets in swamps of losing the momentum or the energy of a session. Even looking at a book for a few seconds can break the energy of a session. So I do think that really direct game mastering advice is not only hard to come by, but I mean, we've all seen that kind of dry, low energy GMing, and it's not, at least for me, not fun. So we'll see how the DMG does. I'm going to find out here in the next couple days. Hey, Rstag, what's up? Are you an Eagles fan? I don't really watch sports right now. Sometimes I get into sports for a couple years at a time. I don't have the time to watch sports right now. Also, sometimes the way sports wants to be part of everything and be everywhere and be on TVs and be loud and have to be yelled over, it gets a little interesting. So, yeah, the Eagles are great. Whatever. Here we go. Given all it's said, thoughts of interesting store in person. Thoughts of interesting store in person with online players. Oh, absolutely not. Never. I'm not interested in that in any way. Got to be here. You got to be at my, having a screen with a face on it. I just have no interest in that. You know, if people doing that, rock on. How was Alien Romulus? Absolutely 10 out of 10. Probably the second best film in the franchise. Absolutely spectacular movie. ICRPG tips for the new GM. They are all in the book. I have none to add. Do the you know what, the 3Ds and 3Ds, do the 3Ts, and do the do. You know, those 3 acronyms, I really stand by them in our ICRPG, and I think they've stood the test of time. So do those things. Thanks all 150 of you for tuning in, by the way. Appreciate y'all. And yeah, I'll always be a Seahawks fan. Burrito. See, now that's a username that really gets to the point. Any news about Scattered Isles or Witchcog? Oh man, you know, making books ain't easy. Scattered Isles, we're deep into the writing phase, and we've got some really cool art from Robbie and Trent. That's J Face on YouTube, is writing Scattered Isles. Really cool, but I have been a little bit derelict in my duties to keep up with both critique and editing and layout and stuff because I've been so deep in getting the shop open. Now I'm starting to get a little bit back more to my creative work, but we have sort of a lot of the bulk writing. Trent's doing an awesome job. As for Witchcock, same story. Richard is in constant demand from Dungeons and Dragons and from a lot of other fantasy projects. So, you know, I have to wait in that big line here and there to get new art for Witchcog. But everything he does is absolute solid gold. It's going to be a sick book. So we'll get there. It's just these things do really take time. You know, you announce them, and announcing them is truly just the beginning. And then you've got this massive journey to go on. So, top 3 favorite metal genres. Well, I don't know. I'm a sludge kind of dude. I like, first of all, instrumental only. I don't really like metal with lyrics. Sorry, zillion awesome bands. I really prefer instrumental metal. But if you want to kind of get into where I listen to metal, get into El Jafazo and Quarzo and a lot of the South American instrumental sludge metal stuff. That's really where I dwell. Although I went and saw Skeletal Remains and Morgul Blade for my birthday, and they were great. So, you know. Besides 5.5 feats, what other writing is currently inspiring you? Oh, that's cool. Wow, I don't know. I mean, I've been, just because the way the shop is played out, I've been reading a lot of little zines and stuff. I'm still am a huge fan of Black Pudding. I don't think a lot of people are really that into it or familiar with it. And then, you know, it has that handmade feel, and maybe for some people it's like, whoa, what is this? But it really speaks to me. So I've been able to read that and many other small zines from Exalted Funeral. Definitely got in some inspiration from reading Vermis. And then probably the single hugest one is The One Ring, which I know I'm like 2 years late on that. It's already on its 2nd edition, but The One Ring is simply spectacular. I'm actually running a mini marathon of The One Ring here in the shop in mid-November. We've got some great folks flying in from out of state to come and play that with me. So The One Ring, I'd say, is probably blowing my mind the most, including the supplement books like Lost Realms and Moria, and really just, oh, so tasty, and just brings me back to what I love about this stuff so much. Coolest indie product in the shop at the moment. Coolest indie product. I'm not sure what an indie product is anymore. It could be the hand knitted D20 that actually rolls perfectly. Also a big fan of Lost in the Deep, which is Diogo's solo book that uses a 52 card deck to like escape a disastrous dwarven expedition in a mine. Also have the new Dungeon Synth album by Black Magic Craft for Idols of Torment on vinyl. That's pretty sweet, especially after selling our vinyl copies of Putrescence Regnant from Morkborg. A lot of neat Morkborg supplements. I don't know. There are too many cool candidates to just pick one favorite. That's kind of mean. Thoughts on Thundar was all right. I don't know. Go back and watch it. It's super cheesy. But, you know, Ukla the Mock for life. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up with Thundar. Do you have a favorite cheesesteak place? Yeah, it's probably Poe's. Poe's steaks are really great. A lot of people prefer the kind of like junk food cheesesteaks, and I can dig on that. Rock on with your bad self. We also have a spot right up here by the shop where you can get a pretty good one. But, you know, everybody says this stuff about favorite cheesesteak and everything. Just get yourself a cheesesteak. Just get one. It's all good. Don't worry about it so much. just get your cheesesteak and move on. These questions are all over the place. Have I played Mothership? Yeah, I played it way back when it came out. Pretty good. A little procedural for me. I really kind of disliked Alien by Free League when it first came out. I think you guys probably remember me here on the YouTube being like, not a big fan of this, but went back to it and give it another read. It's really awesome. I actually love how they're using the dice pool and everything. I think most of my gripes were kind of with the art that they went with. Wasn't like as cinematic as I thought it was going to be and stuff, but really love Alien. But yeah, Mothership's awesome. Everybody loves it. What do you have to eat around the store? Well, I think you can use Google to figure that out. But suffice it to say, it is a vibrant community of restaurants, bars, and coffee places. But I'm not. That's pretty awesome, though. They are all around us, and don't underestimate some of the less high profile ones, because the gems are always hidden. Weights or body weight? Both. I mean, both. Misery Engine. How much time do you spend in the shop? A ton. a ton. But we are open, like I said, Wednesday through Sunday. We do have Crown and Skull neoprene. Yes, we do have those. A few left. Is that the Year Zero system? No. In Alien, you mean? No. What's a TTRPG opinion you have now that would shock hankering from 10 years ago? Wow, that's like a gnarly, woof, that's a spicy one. Wow. Probably just how small the role that D&D proper plays in my cosmos of what I play at the table now, I think would shock 10 years ago hankering. I think I would be deeply surprised at that. You know, it really seemed like, I mean, for a long stretch too, all through the 2000s, like we're talking 98 to 2014 was just D&D. And I was largely unaware of the wider hobby because we just had our group and we just did our thing. And I had a job and life was cruising along. But then once the Burning Wheel was introduced to me in 2014-ish, that led me on an expansive journey into exploring all kinds of other things. And now 10 years later, like I am neck deep in various D&D like RPGs and the way that they influence just each session. Whereas I would put 5.5 as being, I mean, it's great and everything, but toward the bottom of a 20 member list of like what I actually slam down onto the table and play as written, you know. I think that would be a little shocking to me. How high does your crafting skill need to be to open a store like yours? Not at all. It doesn't have to be high at all. Just be yourself. You know, make things in the way, the style, and the quality that is fun for you. Be fun, be vocal, and be good with people. That's the skill. The people skill is the one. You can craft however. It's not about that. It's really about people, accepting them where they are, and having just a foundational love of people is essential. And that I definitely have, I can say quite openly. Journal updates. Yes, I posted my entire just finished journal in a time lapse on Instagram. So check that out. Does your store have a cubby under the stairs? No. No, Jeremy. No, you cannot stay here. You must get an Airbnb like normal people. You goblin, you friggin' ghoul living under. There are no stairs here, by the way. So not only do we not have a cubby, we do not have stairs. I'm looking to retire near Philly. Okay. What surprised you and disappointed you about the area when you moved? Bro, she's spicy. She's spicy. Philly is spicy. Retiring in Philly? I don't know. Philly has its own style. There's a lot to take in. I don't know if I'm ready to fully list my surprises and disappointments in the city of Philadelphia on YouTube. That's a lot. But let me suffice it to say, she's spicy. She's spicy. But if you want to open up that as a private conversation, R Stag, then I'm definitely open to that. Yes, I do have the collector's ICRPG. I'm sorry, I'm out of the loop. What shop? My shop, Pedro. I opened a bookstore. I opened a shop, and I'm in it right now. I'm in this thing. All right, let's do a few more, and I got to get the heck out of here and eat lunch. Part-time DM. How can my local shop get in contact with you to carry your stuff? Just have them email me, man. hankerin.fernale@gmail.com. No problem. We have a retail portal for my stuff and everything. So we fully encourage Runehammer retailers. Yeah, Tim, I know. Any chance of more drawing with Hankerin? Yes, sort of. Come to the shop, and we do a painting thing on Wednesday every month where we paint with me and do a little bit of that drawing as well. But YouTube drawing, not sure. Will it keep going? Absolutely. I'll have the Morat at PageCon in Oaks, PA this winter, and I'll be working on the Morat at the con. So, I appreciate the comment. Love to draw on YouTube. Takes a little bit of doing. So maybe if I can get someone to help me get a good setup for it, we can do that again. How many table groups do you have going right now? I missed the beginning of the screen. It depends what you call a table group. If you count all of them, a lot. If you're talking consistent campaign, 1. No, that's not true. 2, because I've got the Sparrows. So I've got the Dirty Jobs and the Sparrows. Those are my 2, constant game groups. And then I have like my sort of one-shot groups. And then there's like getting to know war gamers. And then there's my paint group, and then on and on and on. So the number of people in the Runehammer cosmos is not easy to summarize right now. And love the Sparrows. So that's my kids game group. And they're like, I think between 9 and 16. And they're like there every single week. Super fun to play with and fun to frighten and terrify. And we have a good time. Yo, Burrito, what's up? Oh, that's the last one. Hey, good. Okay, I think I'm caught up. That is a perfect moment. All 150 of you lumpy-headed weirdos with your 3 arms and your 4 legs and 18 toes, wearing weird T-shirts. Like you got the old PAX logo from like 2006 on there. Yo, what's up, y'all? Tim, I will be at PAX Unplugged briefly, mainly just to promote the shop, because we are going to have a jam-packed weekend here at the shop during PAX Unplugged. So for everybody going to PAX Unplugged here in Philly, PA, here's my official ad. We are going to have games that you can get tickets for all weekend. So you need to take a break from the madness of the convention center. We are a 10-minute Uber ride from there. And you can come on up and drop into one of our sessions all through the weekend. We're going to start on Thursday and go all the way through the end of Sunday that weekend. And they're already starting to fill. We're getting inquiries. We've already got some table reservations, and she's getting crazy and all that. Okay. So And yes, I don't know if I'm going to say pushing wargaming, but yes, Kings of War will be a staple here at Runehammer, and so will Warhammer if people want to play. But I'm seeing the most momentum on both Warmaker and Kings of War right now, so that's that. Well, you guys, I'm going to get out of here. It has been very good to see y'all, and thanks for catching up with me here on YouTube. Be sure to go check out the RPG Mainframe. That's my podcast when that comes out, and I'll see you when I see you. Come on down to the shop. I'm right here on 2401 Frankfurt. That's what's up. Come say hi. We're open every week, Wednesday to Sunday. And get that app. Get the Runehammer app and put it on your phone. And that's where you can get the latest and the greatest and keep up with all I'm doing. Now, if you guys will excuse me, I'm going to slap a fresh clip right here. And I got this xenomorphic invasion problem to handle. They're over there. Oh my God. Oh, I'm out. See y'all later.